Welcome. Good evening, everybody, to Wanocksett 2023. I'm going to turn over to Danny in just a second, but you should see Rachel Schreivogel in your chat. Rachel is our chat master for the night. So how we typically have done this in the past is if you have questions at any point during the meeting, send Rachel a message. She will queue them up. She will compile them. Oftentimes we'll have 4 or 5 of the same question, same themes. We'll kind of wrap them together. And then she'll either interject when the time is appropriate, or at the very end, we'll do a big Q&A segment. So make sure when you're sending a message, you send it to Rachel and she will queue that up. Back to you, Danny.
All right, here we go. So we are getting ready to start our 2023 kickoff season. This is the first of 3 meetings. We'll have one tonight. We'll have one in late May, and then we'll have one 2 weeks prior to your arrival. We want to make sure that we communicate with you and that we get you the information for your crews or troops so that it's as smooth as possible this summer on the Thorndike at Camp Wanocksett. Last summer is in the history books. It was a great summer. We had 124 troops, about 1,375 scouts, 29 CITs, and knock on wood, we have another safe summer like last summer. But let's go to the next slide. We have a whole bunch of folks with us tonight. The Leader's Guide is on the website. We will make slight changes to it, but for the most part, this is the Leader's Guide for 2023 moving forward, and we'll answer all your questions as we go. I'm Danny Megan. This is my 34th summer. I teach 8th grade. I'm in my classroom right now. Assistant Camp Director Andy Collins is on the call, and it's his 16th year, and he is a high school science teacher. We have Will Neville out there somewhere. I can't see him, but he's the program director. Rachel Schreivogel, the assistant program director. We have our camp ranger, John Mayo, on here. We have our scout executive, Mark Barbanitz. We have Matt Gerarda, our program director for the council. And we also have last year's camp nurse and director of health services, Becky Lantry. And so hopefully I didn't forget anyone. We also have the CIT director, Dr. Adam Morse, and he'll talk about CITs a bit later. But we have a whole bunch of people, but we don't want to go too long. So let's continue to the next slide. All right, I'm going to hand it over to our executive director, Mark Barbanitz, if he's on the call, and then he'll hand it to Matt Gerarda.
Thanks, Dan. Welcome, everybody. This is so exciting. This is like the first robin of springtime, because summer's coming when you start planning for your summer camp. And we're super proud of Dan Megan and the staff and the incredible program they put on at Camp Wanocksett. If you've been to Wanocksett 20 years in a row, or if this is your first year, you're going to have a great time and you're going to see a great staff in action. And I look forward to meeting each of you at camp this coming summer. So thank you again. Look forward to seeing you.
All right, good evening, everybody. I just want to let everybody know I'm super excited to see you guys at this summer as well. It's really looking to be an incredible summer. I know for a lot of you folks who are out of council and in council, you have many opportunities to look at other camps, but you pick our camp because of its history, its style, its experience, its energy, and we want you guys to keep coming back year after year. For some of you, this is the first time, and for some others, it's the 100th time. And I hope this summer will be just as great for both sides of that group. Look forward to meeting you all this summer.
Mark and Matt, thank you very much. And let's continue. All right, handing over to Will Neville, the master of program. There he is, although he doesn't look that young anymore. Will, take it away.
Hi, guys. I'm Will Neville. I'm the program director. This will be my fifth year as program director. No, 6th year as program director here at camp, and 16 years on staff. In the off season, I work at a high school in Seattle, but I'm actually moving back to Boston in June to support my wife's career. So I'll be back there a little before camp starts. Rachel, you want to say hi?
Yeah, I'm Rachel Schreivogel. I've been assistant program director here for, I believe this is my 4th summer. Prior to that, I was camp director at Camp Split Rock. I currently live in Ohio and I work as an intervention specialist in a BCBA.
So I just want to do a quick rundown to start the program slides of our daily schedule. This will be especially helpful for the new people in the room, and it is obviously reiterated in our leaders guide. Each day we have 3 merit badge sessions, one at 9 a.m., one at 10 a.m., and then one at 2 p.m. And then around those times at 11 a.m., we have patrol time activity that your unit will sign up for. And from 3 to 5:30, we have open program where scouts can take advantage of anywhere in camp that they would like, whether that's the waterfront, the climbing tower, the shotgun, field sports. Everything is open from 3 to 5:30. There's no rolling blackouts, nothing ever closes. 3 to 5:30 open programs. Scouts can go wherever they want in camp. And then at 7 p.m., another 1 hour block of open program from 7 to 8. And then not listed on this because it changes every night. After 8 p.m., we have our evening program. That might be the OA tap out. It might be an ice cream social. It could be an event with Wacklow, one of the camp across the lake. It changes. The closing and opening campfire fit into those. So all of those are available after 8 p.m. But this is our schedule every day for the scouts to go to and from their merit badges and other programs. Program highlights. So this is just a quick hit. We're going to get more in depth on all of this in just a minute. I just wanted to let you guys know what was coming. First off, for program purchases this year, we are going to be investing in a new trap thrower for our shotgun range to help enhance that program and make it more exciting for kids that have never been and those kids who have been a bunch. It'll allow some variation in that program and us to create new challenges while making it slightly more difficult and so that it fits scouts' ability levels even more than it already does now. We're also going to, something I'm really proud of is investing in our staff training, because really it is the staff and it's the secret sauce. It's not a program purchase, it's not a bike, it's the staff. So we're going to be investing in CPR trainer training for some of our staff to help enhance our BSA Guard programs, as well as programs for some of you. We're also going to be sending people to L&T training and a few others so that they can really offer those programs to a high level year after year. It's important to us to have a really well-trained staff, and that means camp school for our area directors, and it means these auxiliary trainings for other senior and junior staff members so we can offer the best program. New program offerings. So things I want to talk to you guys about tonight are structured crew programs. There are a few crews on the call. They do not make up a large percentage of us here tonight, but it'll be just a brief moment speaking about that. We've revamped how we offer cruise programs. We've also revamped our program for what we call the youth leaders in camp, the SPLs and the crew presidents. We have over 100 troops and about 1,100 or 1,300 campers. So SPLs and crew presidents, you think of them as a small percentage of our campers, but really they make up about 10%, and we want to enhance the program for them. We get to return to having events with Camp Wacklow this year. For those of you who don't know or haven't been around since we stopped having events with them, Camp Wacklow is a private girls' camp across the lake from ours. And we have a really great relationship with them. A couple marriages have come out between the two camps. And this year we're going to be returning some of our sporting competitions we do with them. Sometimes it's archery, sometimes it's volleyball, sometimes it's climbing. It varies week to week. We plan new activities for competitions between our scouts and their campers every week. And we've guaranteed with them to do it at least one a week. It may be more, but one is guaranteed. That being said, if you are week 7, they will have already closed. They run just a week in advance of us. So unfortunately for those of you who come week 7, you don't get those Wacklow events, but as you know, you do get those program bonuses that we offer week 7. We are expanding our BSA Guard program. BSA Guard is a great program that we offer older scouts to become trained lifeguards, but for years and years, we have always had it so that you either have to come with a CPR certification to get it, or you have to earn that CPR certification after you leave camp. Now we're going to be able to offer it where you can get that CPR training in camp. And it's more than just the basic CPR first aid that takes 2 hours that a lot of us do. It's what's known as basic life saving. It's about a 6-hour course. and we'll be able to offer that in camp. We're also gonna be able to offer it for adults. We're gonna including it for the BSA guards, but there is a small cost for the adults just through the American Red Cross that will be offering it through. The card cost, the training materials cost, the registration to have you guys as certified CPR responders costs. So there will be a small cost. We are still figuring out what that is. And there's also a bunch of merit badge changes down from national starting the first of the year. Coming down from national at the first of the year. So we've looked at those. One that I really do want to draw you guys to is that swimming has become quite a bit more difficult. So before you sign up the 11-year-olds, for every 11-year-old to go down to swimming, the big change is that it used to be they had to float for 1 minute on their back unassisted. They have raised that to 3 minutes. I don't know if I could do that. So please make sure to talk to your parents, your scouts about that swimming requirement before you sign them up. We obviously offer instructional swim in the afternoons that can help your scouts with that, but it did become quite a bit harder. There you go, Dan, over the changes. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Program highlights and supplementals. Rachel will drop into the chat in just a few minutes. What we call program supplementals. There are these short 3 to 4 page packets that let you guys know everything for our first year campers, and for our Wanocksett Pioneers, which are our 4th and 5th year campers. These specialized age appropriate programs for them. So those are coming right now, or in just a few minutes as soon as Rachel finds them. But program supplementals will be dropped in the chat in just a minute. They're a great resource so that rather than sharing a 50-page leader's guide with all your families, share these 3 or 4 page resources with your scouts parents so they can get a really good idea of some of the programs we offer. Ways to give back. I always get this question, how can I help when I'm spending my week at camp? On Monday morning, I will show you guys this great volunteer board that we have at camp to help us fill these opportunities. We have a great staff. They offer a great program, but we could not do it without the help of the adult leaders that come to camp. So we have guest speaking for merit badges, whether it's citizenship in the world where you had to be born and lived outside another country. We're always looking for someone to speak to our scouts for that, or driving to one of our community partners, the fire department, the museum in town on our field trips. There's tons of ways to give back to camp while you're there. So that will be available to sign up on Monday when you come to camp. If you have more questions, please feel free to reach out. Crew programs. I know this is not a large percentage of those of us here, but I do want to go over it. I do think it's important, but I will try to make it brief. And crews, I will reach out to you separately within the coming weeks. Crew programs at camp. A few years ago, maybe a decade ago now, we got asked to have a crew at camp. And they did COPE and it was great, or they did BSA Guard and we offered them these really great programs, and they have now become part of our family, and it has become more and more difficult. You know, those scouts can stay in that program for 7 years, and doing COPE a couple times is great, but we've really wanted to expand those offerings. So I've looked through all rank and award requirements for crews and come up with about 90 hours of rank and award requirements that are achievable at camp, and I think makes sense. The purpose of doing it at camp is going to be so that to help you launch into your next school year. We're going to, almost all of these award or rank requirements then require a large service project or a teaching somewhere at a science fair or something like that. We don't want to do that at camp. We want to empower you and give you the knowledge base and the ability to jump in and give that back into your community. Because we think that's a really important part of scouting, is that forward-facing part of it. Also, now it'll be structured so it's a more inclusive, you get more of the Camp Wanocksett experience. Before, crews did just their crew thing all day, 9 to 5. They didn't interact with the other campers. They didn't get open program. That's changing as well. So you get 15 to 20 hours of program, the same 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., perhaps 11 a.m. if we need to pack in some more. but open program and patrol time are uninterrupted. And service hours, which are some of the requirements, we would love to help you guys facilitate that, but service to Camp Wanocksett or the BSA does not meet the requirement for venturers. You have to give that service to someone else. So we will work with the fire department, the mountain, the public beach, and other community partners and help you get those service hours while you're at camp if you want to knock them out, but it won't be to camp. We want you to go out into the community and do that instead. What did I include? The 90 of those 90 hours. In venturing, there's a lot of requirements that are based upon long-term personal achievement and growth, which fit really well into the crew program for you to work with your advisors on. That is not something we think is applicable to camp. So we left all of that out. If it had a clear benefit to doing at camp to help launch you into that community is what we decided to bring into camp. And we also were avoiding anything with like teach, explain, plan, because if I teach you something on Monday, you teaching it to someone else in your crew on Tuesday is really just a regurgitation of facts. What we want is you to take that knowledge, go out and use it rather than just simply regurgitating it to the kids in your crew the next day. I'll send out that list of 90 hours shortly to crews. Once that's on the list, talk to me. I'm happy to consider it. I did choose the ones I chose because I know that they're achievable at camp. But if we can make something work for you, much like with every group of scouts that comes through, if we can make it work, we will. And like I said, almost none of the requirements are complete. We're going to give you a launching pad to go out back into your community and do that service project. Teach those Cub Scouts, teach those tenderfoots out in the local troop, and you'll learn all that at camp to help you plan for a really good year. The next big new program, I mentioned those SPLs and those crew presidents. Real brief, our interaction with SPLs and crew presidents has been dwindled down to a quick 10-minute meeting on Mondays. But we have decided to create this platform where they have more responsibility throughout the week. And we're going to meet with them once a day, much like we do with the adult leaders, right after lunch probably. Give them more responsibility, like, excuse me, helping us plan events in campsites, a bunch of other stuff. I will send around a list, and also to take things off of the hour-long meeting we have on Monday with you adult leaders. We're going to give some of that responsibility to the SPLs. It's a youth-driven organization. The youth should be leading with you guys advising, and camp gives us a really good space to do that in, because we will have you as backups, but it'll give them a nice chance to lead. Is Adam here? I feel like I've been talking a lot. Adam Morris is here. Ask to unmute Adam Morris. Here we go.
Hey, everybody. Great to see you all. My name is Adam Morris. I am the CIT director. This will be my 17th year working at Camp Wanocksett, my 21st year going to camp. And I'm excited this is, I think, my 7th year doing the CIT director job. And so just a few bits of information about the program. I think a lot of you are already familiar with it. But just for those that aren't or need a review, this is for scouts who are 14 or 15 years old. They've been coming to camp for a few years, or maybe they've never been to camp before. Had a lot of CITs the last several years that have never been to camp before, that have decided to do the program, never even having set foot in Camp Wanocksett, which is really cool. But it's first class rank and age 14 or 15. By the beginning of June or the end of June, beginning of the summer, you got to be 14. And the application is online on the council website. And that's due by April the 15th, and more information will come after you submit an application. So, I mean, the real purpose of the program is leadership development, leadership skills, and training about customer service at camp. But these skills are applicable back in troops and crews and in units back home with the scouts. So there's really a two-pronged a motive behind the CIT program. It's 4 weeks long. You come for staff week, you get trained, you set up the camp with the paid staff, and then you come for 3 other weeks of your choice. And that's basically up to scouts to choose which weeks they want to come. If they want to come 1, 2, and 7, if they want to come week 2 and 4 and 7, if they want to come 4, 5, and 6, that's up to them. A lot of people don't know that you can do the CIT program and go to camp with your troop the week your troop goes to camp or your crew goes to camp. Okay, people have maybe forgotten this or don't know, but you can arrange your weeks appropriately so that you can do those sorts of things. Also, if you're going to Philmont, if you're going to Sea Base, if you're going to the summit, if you're going anywhere, if you go to Jambo, you can still do the CIT program. We can work with you to arrange the weeks. If you have to come back on a Tuesday or leave on a Thursday, that's fine too. Just work with us and let us know, and we can make it happen. I don't want people not to apply just because they're going to miss a few days. Send me an email, cit@campwanocksett.org, if you have any questions about that. But the program is $400, and that includes everything for those 4 weeks. A question I often get asked is, if you do go with your troop or your crew, that is the camp fee for that week that you're going. But otherwise, it's all inclusive for the 4 weeks of the program for CITs. If CITs are doing really well and they're really excelling at their jobs, sometimes I'll invite back 1 or 2 people a couple times a summer. If people are really going above and beyond expectations, they'll get an opportunity also to teach merit badges in the areas. They'll get to work in an area for a week potentially, but otherwise the program is structured by working in a different area each day. You get to have 2 merit badge periods to yourself, where you can earn and do advancement. As well, we want you to have those opportunities, and you do training for 1 hour a day with me as well, and you have fellowship down in the CIT village in the evening, and I'll come and hang out with the CITs then. So you make lasting friendships. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. It's great to have your summer packed in with a lot of things. Go to camp with your troop, CIT program, go to Jambo, have all those things going on, to have like a lot of stuff packed into the summer. So if you have questions, email me, cit@campwanocksett.org. I'm happy to answer any questions. The application is up now. I have about 7 applications. We can take a whole lot more. So thank you.
Adam, awesome. Last year, 29 CITs. We'd like to break 30 this year. It's an incredible program. They live just behind the director's cabin, where the director and his wife, who are both on paid staff, oversee them from, a management point of view. Adam checks in every day, morning and night, but we're there making sure that it's safe and appropriate. And Adam, we could not continue to have a quality staff without your CITs to feed the staff machine. Every year, between 4 and 8 of Adam's CITs are hired into the junior staff rank, and they climb up through the ranks. So Adam, good work. We're going to take a break for questions. See if we can clean the deck a little bit here. Chat Master Strivogel, what do you have for us?
Yeah, thank you. So first question, Will, can you talk about the various awards such as the Baden-Powell? Will there be any new awards? Will there be any changes from previous years?
Yes, I can talk about them all. The short answer is the only one that might get updated based on they're all the same. Nothing's leaving, nothing's going away. The only one that might increase, and I still have to poll our junior staff, is the interpreter strip. We offer the interpreter strip through a couple of our staff members that speak Spanish. We do have quite a few new junior staff members. And a couple years ago, I got lucky and I had a French speaker. So I have to poll them. We might add another language or two, hopefully, knock on wood. But besides that, there are no changes. All those awards can be found in the Leader's Guide.
Thank you. All right. Some questions regarding the new venturing program that you are running out this year. Will there be any prerequisites depending on what they choose? And if so, when would this list of prerequisites be announced?
Yes. There are, so I will say not prerequisites, but incompletes. We chose the things that we can do at camp as the start. We don't want to be the finish. We want to be the launching pad, if that makes any sense. So, we talk about, there's some rank requirements to talk about project management and program management. We'll teach those skills and then to give you to the next step. I will have that full list out of the hours I came up with. I can do it as soon as tomorrow. I will just send it out just to the venturing crews. And we can talk about that privately if you'd like. But I don't think prerequisites is the right term. Yes, there are incompletes, but it's because it's designed to send you out into the world after.
Great. Another question about the crew programs. Who will be running this, and how much of this will be adult volunteers compared to Wanocksett staff?
Yeah, so it's based almost entirely on which, you have 15 to 20 hours of the week to fill with these crew programs, and we have about 90 known hours that we can choose from. And it depends on which of those 90 hours, which is why we're going to ask for you guys to have your selections into us for what you want for the week a few weeks out. We have a great deep bench of former staff members that I've already spoken to about coming in for days at a time to help teach these things. So it kind of depends. Some of it could be taught entirely in-house. Adam Morris is leading like the ethics portion. I'll lead other parts of it. Zach Algren, or who's a volunteer, or Jacob Roger, who's in-house, could do the CPR. It really depends on the route you take.
Great, thank you. In terms of the SPLs and the new meetings that we're going to be having for them, how does this look for a camper that might be doing the COPE program? Will they be missing the meetings? Will there still be opportunities?
No, the meetings will be right after lunch, so nobody should miss anything at all.
Okay.
It'll be on top of all the other programs they get to experience as a camper.
Great, thank you. And we have some eager volunteers that are over the age of 18, but not quite 21 yet. What can volunteering look like for them, since they can't technically be an adult with the YPT regulations?
Well, I would say, and Danny, jump in or correct me, but once you have two 21-year-olds, Collins, am I correct? You can have an 18-year-old. So if we're talking about the Sunset Summit hike, if they want to go on that, they are perfectly empowered, and having, a set of 20-year-old eyes on a group of 11-year-olds is always going to be helpful. So while they cannot technically fulfill the YPT requirements, having an 18 to 21-year-old is still a great resource. They connect with the kids really well. They can still lead. And we would love to have them help out in every capacity that a 21-year-old can help out in. But they, as you said, cannot meet that adult requirement until there are at least two 21-year-olds. So a good example of this is on the Kimball's bike ride. We need two 21-year-olds to go. One is our COPE director. One is another adult. After that, we could have another 19-year-old go, but not until we meet that requirement.
Yeah,
that's
just clarify too,
perfect explanation.
Everyone needs to be registered still. They have to have completed youth protection training. It's just that requirement of two 21-year-old adults that the unit needs to have in camp. So they do need to have youth protection training. They do need to be on the roster. They just can't count towards the minimum of two.
Yeah.
Great. One last question. With the swimming merit badge changes, will there be any change in requirements for the BSA swim test?
I have not. I looked at updated merit badge requirements. I have not looked at updated swim test requirements. I will do that right now. Let Danny and Andy do their portion and get back to you guys before the end of the meeting.
That's a pretty good question, because we went through, Matt Gerarda sent us a massive amount of merit badge changes, and we churned through that for several hours, but not the swim test. So that's pretty good. All right, let's keep going.
Oh,
To you
sorry.
guys, that's all the questions.
We'll be back for more. So what do we have available? Well, we have Nurse Becky Landry. We'll bring her in later. I talked to Becky Saturday extensively about some changes to the leader's guide, about our medical forms and the dates and when those are due. But Becky has agreed to help us get camp started. She's a wealth of information. We still are looking for a nurse. We may have several nurses throughout the summer. We may have one nurse for the whole summer. But if you're a nurse and you're interested in working at camp, you need to be an RN for New Hampshire. And waterfront director, we have an interview. We had someone, but he has to take an internship, but we are interviewing someone. So we potentially have a waterfront director. And the other one is the communications director, teaching communications merit badge, working with that badge, also working with our social media post, and basically doing a whole bunch of other fun stuff around camp in the area of Eagle required badges. Let's keep going. So those are the dates. Make sure that you are coming to camp the right week and the right set of dates. here's a window for me to give a little plug. There are about 7, 8, 9 sites available for the entire summer. And we did not hear a lot of folks calling out to us until about 10 days ago. And then we have got lots of calls and lots of emails. So our friends from Maine who are watching, and our friends from Western Mass and Sudbury, all of you who are not quite yet committed, but you're nibbling, we have space. We would love for you to join us and be part of 2023 at Camp Wanocksett. We're looking to have another 1,375 scouts and Adam 30 CITs plus Weeblos, but there is space available. Week 3 is kind of tight. Week 2 is kind of tight. Week 4 is got a little bit of space. 1 and 6 are surprisingly tight right now. 7 has some space, but please reach out to us and firm up your sites if you're nibbling. So let's continue.
Just real quick, no change in the BSA swim test.
Nice job. All right. So something that we're going to do, Collins, is this? Yes, this is the one. Medical forms. Medical forms are required by the state of New Hampshire and the Boy Scouts of America, and the requirements on those are quite stringent. This year, we're looking for medical forms to be mailed to camp 4 weeks prior to your arrival. Now, if you have 27 scouts coming to camp and you have 26 of the 27 forms, mail them and bring that last form with you, or mail it as soon as you get it. But the majority of the forms need to be at camp 4 weeks prior so that we have our medical staff on site starting to process buddy tags and everything when you arrive. Check-in is a big process, and the medical process is important. You know, right now, the theme is a norovirus in the schools. Kids are getting a stomach bug. You know, a couple summers ago, it was the coronavirus. Whatever it is, we want to keep the kids safe. Everyone has got to go through the health lodge. They've got to turn their meds in. They've got to get checked out. It's a process. 4 weeks before you arrive to camp, paper copies. They must be copies because we have to keep them. You need to have the over-the-counter signature if you want us to give you Tylenol or Advil. It's on the form. You need to attach that immunization record. It's a requirement. If your tetanus is out of date, we're going to work to get that tetanus done. If you're an adult and you don't have your immunizations, you need to be creative and create a paper trail of when you think you were immunized, working with your pediatrician who's no longer with us probably. But you need to come up with the dates of when you had those immunizations. Andy Collins, can you add anything to this one?
No, I don't think so. I think, you know, Danny and I were going back and forth about, you know, how we move this out to 4 weeks before your arrival. You know, and I was doing some reflecting this past weekend. You know, when I first started coming to camp in the late 90s, the med form was 2 pages and we had about 900 scouts in camp. The med form is about 5 pages now, 4 or 5 pages, depending on what you need to fill out. And we've got almost 1,400 kids coming to camp, and that's just a lot more paperwork for our nursing division to go through. So like, I can't, you know, stress enough, like Danny said, don't wait until your entire troop is like ready to rock and roll. If you're short a couple forms and you know those forms are coming, send off the majority of them to camp, label them, you know, with your troop, your crew information, the week you're coming to camp. It's helpful too. A lot of troops, a lot of crews will have a separate medical form coordinator, the really large troops. If you're that unit, you know, put the name and address or name and phone number for the person who's dealing with med forms on a piece of paper with that mailing, because, you know, then we just start kind of playing the telephone game between the nurse, the summer camp contact, the med form coordinator, back to the nurse. So the more you can get to us, you know, quicker, the better. If you have 1 or 2 med forms and you know that they're going to be coming in late, you can always fax those into us. We can't get emails on them. That's a BSA ask. You know, fax them in. We can do 1 or 2. Please don't fax in, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 med forms, because that just starts to jam up the works. And, you know, if there's corrections, you know, you're going to hear back from the nurse, things that are missing, dates that are wrong, missing tetanus shot, stuff like that. You know, you can always get those additional things out to the nurse the day you arrive. You can always, you know, fax those things up, those 1 or 2 pages. We can merge the forms together, stuff like that. So 4 weeks out should help relieve the stress on the machine with the health lodge and with getting buddy tags processed and stuff like that. Obviously there's with 4 weeks out, you start to cross into different months. And the concern we always hear are some families, they can only get a physical, the month that, 12 plus months later, whatever the insurance allows that person has, get us something, even if it's going to expire. That way we have something on record, and then get us the new form later. The only thing worse is to have a kid come to camp and not have a med form, period. And, we're going to work with you. We want to make sure the kid can go to camp, but, we're also held to that same standard for the state of New Hampshire. We need those med forms. So that's pretty much all I got on med forms, Danny.
1 more minute from the camp director on this. If you have a troop organizer of med forms, only send us the kids who are coming to camp. Last year, on at least one occasion, they sent us 42 med forms and they only sent 18 kids, and the nurses went through all the other ones. Send us copies of the people who are coming to camp. And if on the med form, there's a medication, our nurses are going to prepare to give that medication to the kid. If the kid's not taking it for the summer because they're coming off of it for 2 months, please make sure that someone marks that up so that they don't go through the process. Because remember, nurses work off of doctor's orders. Any medication that comes to camp, the nurse has to give the exact way that the doctor is prescribing. And so it's very detailed. So do the best you can on keeping your stuff wired tight. We'll talk more in May about med forms. Let's continue. All right, Andrew, you'll take this one.
Sure thing. So camp registration, the price for camp this year for early bird is $495 per scout. After that, after May 1st, the regular price is $525. Any scouts that join your troop after the early bird. So we do have some units who, I was one of those kids when I crossed over from Weeblos to Scouts. We did the crossover in June. And although the Scoutmaster talked to our den leader about summer camp, sometimes the decision wasn't made until mid-May, late May. If you're one of those scouts, you're crossing over into the troop, or if you recruit a kid into your troop after early bird, the early bird deadline in May, we honor that as like a new scout rate. And then finally, provisionally, any encore weeks, whether it's, week 1 and the rest of your troop is coming week 6, or just multiple weeks after they come to camp, we give them that early bird rate of $495.
Great.
Danny?
Yep. So adult leaders, we have a fee for you for the week. With our great chow and the program we provide you, it's quite a deal to take a break from your regular life and come to camp for 17 meals and 6 nights. If you have an extra meal here and there, it's $9. Let's continue. Andy, just quick explanation. Go back to that one because I cut it short. The first 2 adults are free. Explain that just because there's always a question in the chat every year.
Yep. So your unit always gets 2 free adults, right? Those 2 21-year-olds you have to have. That's included in the fees for the scouts. For all the scouts up to 20 scouts, you get 2 free. Every additional adult or every group of scouts, 10 or more or part thereof, above that, you get 1 additional one. So if you bring 35 scouts, then you'll have 4 free adults. And what we do is we look at really the total number of adults per day, the average number of adults. So if you end up having like 4 adults, and they're kind of scattered around because you're switch hitting adults for half a week here or a third of a week there. We look at it mathematically to say, okay, you have 4 adults, 4 adults, 5 adults, 4 adults, 4 adults. Okay, you got 4, and then we'll look at the extra day, see where that extra adult is. But we do settle all that up once you come to camp or once you do your pre-camp check-in virtually with me or the business manager.
Great. Every year, I think these plates look appealing. But it's good chow, and we have the same chef back, John Visa, and we're working on the menu for this summer, and we'll have a lot of the food that will be the same, but we also want to spice it up a little bit and change things a little bit. We're always moving the ball forward, but definitely the salad bar is back, and there was a request for feta cheese again. So I guess in 2023, we're going to work on bringing back feta cheese. That was an actual email I got about bringing back the feta cheese. So we'll work on that. Let's continue, Andy. Okay, camperships. If you have a scout in need, please reach out. There's a process. Andy we'll post the link in the chat if we haven't already done so. And make sure that you communicate with us and don't forget to go through the proper process, because these have to go through headquarters. And Mark and Matt, they spend time organizing it. We're as generous as we can be with everyone, but we don't want to leave a scout home because of finances. This is a great way to smooth out the Sunday check-in at camp, and Andy developed it, the virtual pre-check-in. Andy.
Give props to Will. It was actually Will's suggestion, I think 2 summers ago, Will. A little bit more than half the units, probably 60% of the units last summer took advantage of this. This is not just for our friends from Maine and New Jersey and Rhode Island who are coming up. This is for any troop, right? When you have your pre-camp orientation meeting 10 days out, we will provide you with a way to sign up and do a quick virtual check-in with myself and or the business manager at camp. We'll go through everything. We'll double check the finances while the council office hours are open, and we can talk with the bookkeeper. We'll double check camperships. We'll figure out the number of adults and do all the financial stuff ahead of time. Those of you who have been in the business office at camp know it's tight. We can get more people on Zoom than we can get in my office. Although I think we've gotten 12 people in that room before.
Pre-COVID, of course.
Pre-COVID, yes. But this is a great way for you to really get your stuff done ahead of time for Sunday check-in. It gets you in and out of the office. It'll take maybe 15 minutes max. If you talk to any of the adult leaders, sometimes it's even less than that. It's 10 minutes. And we'll provide you with all the financials ahead of time, and a list of things to pull together and pre-organize for when you come to camp. And it's really as simple as coming to the office, dropping off everything we talk about ahead of time. Someone will process it really quick. They will give you all of the fun program stuff that Will and Rachel are pulled together for the packet and your camp flag and all that stuff, and you're out the door. It really speeds things up. It takes the pressure off the machine up in the office, which can be very busy, but also hot if you've been there during the height of July. And I can't suggest it enough. So we'll send the link out to sign up for a time on the calendar after your pre-camp meeting. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Last year in our leaders guide, we added in 2 pages and received really well from the unit leaders, the unit coordinators, list of dates, important dates to remember, as well as a quick backdater for you to use as you approach camp. So some real quick key dates. April 1st, already mentioned the campership deadline. The form is on our website, campwanocksett.org. It's also in the chat from earlier when I dropped it in there. April 15th, our CIT applications are due, also on our website. Adam does a great job with that program, so let's make sure we hit that 30, maybe even 40 CITs this year. May 1st, unit early bird payment is due to the service center in Rutland. Those of you who are summer camp coordinators, scoutmasters, and right now in the Zoom, make sure you are backdating that with your parents. Really try to get out there. Maybe April 15th for your own troop, for your parents, is early bird. Get those checks into the troop, not only so that you have the ability to organize the accounting, but also so the checks can clear. We had a couple troops last year kind of panicked at the last minute because they were coming both to camp but also Philmont, and they thought they had the cash flow in the troop checking account to write the check right on say April 30th, and come to find out they didn't, because they're also going to Philmont and some of the checks from camp from parents hadn't cleared yet. So build yourself in about a week or 2 extra just to do the back office accounting and check clearing on your end, so that May 1st you can have that check dropped off, mailed into the council office in Rutland. There is a financial submission form. We're working on updating that. It's going to be on the last page of the leaders guide. It's also going to be posted on our website. If you can include that with any checks that you send into the office in Rutland, that really helps out the folks in that office, right? Lori and Kelly open up a lot of mail and process a lot of stuff, especially around early bird time. It's only fair to them if we can give them a piece of paper with the check and not just a check that they have to try to reverse engineer. So that'll be at the end of the leaders guide. And then really June 15th is our drop dead date. If you think about it, we have a lot of files in the Rutland office. with early bird that we have to package up and organize and get up to the Dublin office. At the same time, Will, Danny, Rachel, myself, Adam, we're all finishing up our school years. So we need a little bit of time to pack up those files and open up the Dublin office. So after June 15th, please try not to send stuff down to Rutland. It's just going to delay getting stuff to us. Either it's going to go into Matt or Mark's car, or Lori has to take the time to scan it and get it to us. Just send it up to Dublin at that point. June 24th, the Dublin office is fully armed and operational. We're done school, knock on wood, no more snow days, although I probably just jinxed us. And we'll be, ready to rock and roll for the season. So those are some key important dates. Those are all in our leaders guide. Hey, Will, can you go to the next slide? I can talk about the back data real quick. So 30 days before you come to camp, a couple things you should really start to do. Confirm that everybody who's coming to camp, both the youth and the adults, are registered members of the BSA. Make sure their registration is good. Most of the time you run into this with 2 occasions: a scout who's transferring from, crossing over from Webelos to the troop, or it's a parent who is just coming up for a day or 2 and they're not on the roster. Get that stuff done. Get that stuff into your council office, whether it's the office in Rutland or your own local council service center. That way your registrar has some time to process that paperwork. Also, you need to make sure that if you have lived in New Hampshire in the last 7 years, or you currently live in New Hampshire, that you get that DCYF third-party check, that extra background check that New Hampshire requires of current state of New Hampshire residents and previous in the last 7 years New Hampshire residents. That link is at the very end of our leaders guide. It's not electronic. It needs to get notarized. It needs to get mailed to Concord. Sometimes they turn them around in 2 days. Sometimes they turn them around in 2 weeks. So get those out 30 days out. 28 days before you come to camp, get those med forms to camp. Copies. Include the label with the unit and your week number. 10 days out, you get your pre-camp meeting and sign up for that virtual check-in if you could. And then sometime between the virtual check-in and a little bit before camp, do that virtual check-in to make sure everything is all wrapped up with your troop financially. Next slide, Will. And then when you come to camp, we have a checklist. Whether you do the pre-camp check-in or not, really try to make sure all this stuff is pulled together. Whoever's coming up to the office, make sure you have it with you. The first stop does not need to be the office. It's one thing that some unit leaders sometimes think that they have to, back in the day, you used to have to go to the office. You had to get a ticket and get checked in before you could do anything else. And we don't do that anymore. The office needs to be one of your stops on Sunday, whether you've done the pre-camp virtual check-in or not. But when you come up, make sure you have everything with you. If you forgot some stuff in the campsite, just go grab it. Don't come up to the office and then go back and come back, make yourself go back and forth. This checklist is in the leader's guide on that backdater. Make sure you have all that stuff with you. Some other really quick tips. Make sure one person is your unit contact. We've got a number of requests from units to have 3 or 4 contacts on their reservation. That gets really overwhelming for us. We've got 110, 112 units. If everyone had 4 unit contacts, it would be a lot for us to try to manage. So please make sure one person is that contact. What we will do is in the next couple of weeks, we will send you a custom email with the details of your registration, your week, your troop or crew, the person who's the contact. Please confirm that. Let us know that, yes, this is right, or no, it's not. Here's the stuff that needs to get updated, or here's the stuff that's blank I need to fill in. Please remember that units pay camp, not individual families. Make sure that you're sending in those payments from your troop. Send in 1 check. Don't send in 13 checks at $4.95 to Lori, because poor Lori will have to process every single one of those. We'll take the money, but that's just a lot for her at early bird time. So please make sure it's 1 check from the council or from the troop or the crew. Any refunds go back to the unit. In the case of 99% of you, the only time that we refund a family is if you're coming provisionally, and that's nobody on this call. So make sure that you are getting those refunds back to the families from the troop treasury. If we have to swap somebody on our side, that's fine by us. You already paid for that scout. You can swap at the troop side, those two people. And then there's that financial submission form, which I already mentioned, will be at the back of the leader's guide. We mentioned June 15th, send everything attention Kelly Stickney. She's at the office in Rutland. After that, definitely not 2024. That's a typo. Our apologies. We're already looking at the 100th anniversary, apparently. Make sure you send everything up to the camp office in Dublin. You can put my name on it. We'll get it from there. Submit your roster and your merit badges. We'll have the electronic submission. I think last year, almost 75 or 80% of troops used the electronic submission. It really helps streamline the office ahead of time. You can make changes up until midnight when you arrive. And then we have that pre-camp meeting. Bring extra copies of stuff if you need to update medical forms. We should already have those 4 weeks out, but if we don't have them, 4 weeks out, get them to us sooner than later. And that meeting again will be hybrid like we've done the past year. Mostly people sign in virtually. If you happen to come to camp, you happen to come to camp, but virtual seems to be the way to go for that quick meeting. For the youth on the call, which I did see a whole bunch of SPLs, which is awesome to see, right? You're the ones who need to start promoting camp. Get your scouts to camp, get your younger scouts excited to come to camp, get your older scouts, the folks that are your peers, to also sign up to camp. You're the one who can sell this to them and make sure that they get signed up. We're getting more active on social media right now. We have a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be queued up for the next couple of weeks. So check out Facebook and Instagram primarily. And we'll be looking for that communications coordinator for the summer. And then our website is also updated pretty frequently as well. I think that leads us to our emails and questions and answers with Rachel.
All right, quite a few questions coming your way. We'll start with some MedForm questions. So I know you addressed this, but do you mind just reiterating the timelines for sending them in? We had a lot of confusion about the 4 weeks prior, and if you're at week 1 and week 2, can you clarify, do you want those sent to Rutland then?
All med forms to Camp Wanocksett. So if you're coming week 1, I think you start somewhere around the 29th of June. That's week 1. So 4 weeks prior to that would put it around June 1st. Your med forms go to camp. And then 7 days after will be week 2. And then, it continues and rolls through. So this is something I spoke to Becky on Saturday, and she knows more about camp nursing than anyone I know. And this is the way that we could start to have those med forms checked and reviewed, and we could get information to you, hopefully quicker than in the past.
Okay, thank you. In terms of adult leaders, when do they need a physical? When do they not need an updated physical for camp?
Just like scouts and just like the paid staff, everyone needs a physical when they come to camp. You might be wondering, or you might be talking about the number of hours you can be in camp. And I always ask Andy to explain it. It has to do with 72 hours. Andy, the 72-hour rule.
Yeah, so if you're an adult leader and you're only going to be in camp 72 hours or less, then you can just get away with parts A and B of the medical form, which does not include the physical from your doctor. The caveat with that is you can't have any fun. You can't go swimming.
You're not going swimming. You're not going
swimming. You're not going on boats. You're not shooting guns. You're not going on the ropes course. You're not going climbing. You're essentially using the wonderful Wanocksett Resort, but only the sleeping and eating part.
Don't have the fried donuts and Scoutcraft either. All right, so let's keep going.
Okay. Do they need to turn in the Massachusetts specific pages of the medical form?
They do not, no. We have 2 great camps in the Heart of New England Council. It's a lot easier to have one form on our council website for the 2 camps. We have a lot of Cub Scouts, especially, who are going between both Treasure Valley and Wanocksett. So if you're going to New Hampshire, you only need parts A, B, and C, and part D and H is only for those people who are going to Wanocksett who have an EpiPen or an inhaler.
Is there any virtual way to turn in medical forms, such as emailing them or submitting them online?
No.
Can you talk a little bit about what your COVID protocols look like this year?
Yes, we're going to eat by troop in the dining hall. So you'll eat inside with your cohort. If your troop wants to eat outside, there'll be some space available. We're going to wash our hands before we go into the dining hall. We're going to promote hygiene throughout camp. If you want to wear a mask when you're inside, you're welcome to. But we're going to recommend that scouts drink lots of water, wash their hands, shower on a regular basis. And Andy, anything else to add to that? I guess
No,
we
I
could
think-
go down the road of, if we go down the road of everyone who arrives at camp is going to be screened for how they're feeling, how the folks who they drove to camp are feeling, any sickness in the family. I mean, all that is the normal screening for any type of virus or bacteria on Sunday. But, and if there's something that a scout does not feel well, just like if a scout cuts themselves, all of that stuff goes to the health lodge. It has to be logged in the log and treated. And so if a scout has to go home, we'll have them come back later in the season. But we're going to enjoy the woods and the lake and the camp, and we're going to be smart, and we're going to practice proper hygiene and sit with our own troops in the dining hall.
Just a follow-up question to that as well. Do you still want copies of the COVID vaccination card?
I think we want if you have been vaccinated, that should be part of your medical form. So I think it would be on there with the other vaccines. So if you have a vaccine, include it with your medical form.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on to some questions about registration. How would a troop go about confirming that they are indeed registered for camp this summer?
They could shoot us an email, but also Andy mentioned that we do an email each February that says, hello, your schedule for this week, and we are looking forward. This is one of the ways that we make sure that a troop doesn't think they're in the wrong week. So we send out an email. Back in the day, it was a postcard. Andy, am I explaining that properly?
Yep.
So we'll send you something to tell you where we think you are. And if you are concerned, send us something.
And similar, if they are not yet registered, how would a troop go about doing so?
Email us. Preferably put two of us on there, the director and the assistant director, and we'll get on it. And there is some shuffling going on. Some troops have switched weeks, and we have a big uptick in the last 10 days of troops who are interested, both inside Massachusetts and outside Massachusetts. So sooner rather than later, we'll get you in and find you a site in a week, and that's great.
Okay, we have a lot of troops that are eager to get specific campsites for this summer. Can you talk about how requesting a campsite works and when all these requests get figured out?
So when you sign up for Early Bird and you tell me you're bringing 22 and someone else is bringing 7 and someone's bringing 30, I look at that data with Andy and we play site Jenga so that we can fit everyone in. If you were in a site last year and it was your site and you're going to bring roughly the same number, you might probably be in that same site again. But we can't be too connected to sites in the sense that we can't become too attached. You know, I went a couple rounds with an adult leader years ago who wanted to bring 6 scouts and stay in the Sioux campsite, which holds 38. I had to explain that we just can't do that. We want to get kids to camp. We want to make sure that people are comfortable, that they like their site. We'll work with you as much as possible, but we got to get the kids into camp, and we can't get too, wound up about campsites.
Okay, thank you. A couple of questions about finances. Do we know the cost of photos and pizzas for this summer yet?
We do not. I've reached out to the photo vendor, and he has not gotten back to us yet. He's in his late 70s. He's incredible. We'll work on that soon. Pizza, I know the prices of cheese have gone up, eggs have gone up, but we'll work on getting that very soon. It will not be much of an update. We hadn't gone up in 5 years. I think last year we went up $1 each. We'll work on that. I would say we're probably going to be $1 more for pizza, and we may be level for photos because I think we went up last year. But I need to hear from the photographer for that.
Okay.
Just because you asked, pizza. We have a campfire. It's at 8 o'clock on Friday night. It's the closing campfire. After the campfire, we deliver pizza for those troops who ordered it to your site. Now, we have a regular meal at 6 o'clock and it's a good meal, but our big meal is on Thursday night. Our regular nice meal is on Friday night. After the campfire, we deliver pizza. The proceeds go to help pay for the trip to the beach, help supplement the staff banquet, different events throughout the year for the staff to keep their morale up. Maybe it was our barbecue on the beach one night or our bowling night. The very last night we're in camp, we take them bowling. The staff is incredible. They work very hard, and we want to self-fund the morale fund through pizza. So in case you're not familiar with what we were talking about, keep going, Rachel.
Okay. Another question about pizzas and photos. We just have some people looking to confirm, can they both submit these orders at that pre-check-in, virtual check-in process on Sunday, or can they also still pay for these midweek as well?
Yes, midweek, before, during, after. Yes, we're very flexible as long as they get paid for.
Great. Okay. Another Sunday question. Can you talk a little bit about the Sunday process where troops utilize that virtual check-in and it's a little bit more of a quick hit? And there has been in the past possibly lag time between that check-in and orientation starting. And we just have some people wondering if there's going to be any updates to this process to get scouts to orientations faster.
I'm not sure what that question means, but the virtual check-in is not the day that you arrive. That is a couple days before. And what you do is you meet with Andy and you say, we're bringing 18 kids, 2 adults. We want 2 pizzas and 11 photos. You get a lot of that stuff done in advance. So that's the virtual check-in. At some point on Sunday, you go to the administration building for the final check-in, and it can be very quick if you've done the virtual, or it can be longer if you have not done it. But when you arrive at camp, I think we do a pretty good job of getting the kids through the health lodge, the swim check, the dining hall, a quick tour of the camp, and then back to your site to nest, and then get everyone down to the main field for a 6 o'clock flag ceremony. If we identify a troop that's running behind, we will send staff out to help nest in the sites. So is every week last year perfect? No, but many of the weeks when I asked the question on the field Sunday night, how did it go? Thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down. Most weeks were thumbs up. Maybe week 1 was a little tough last year. We'll do better this year. But the virtual check-in is before you arrive. The check-in is the day you arrive. And we need to get kids around camp, and we'll do the best we possibly can. And if you have feedback for us, give it to us so we can become better.
Great. Some financial questions now. Is a deposit needed to reserve a site in a week?
Yes. So by now, most of the troops have, it's Andrew, $100 deposit.
Correct.
$100 in advance gets you a site, but you have to fill out a site reservation form. You email me or Andy. He'll send you a reservation form. We'll confirm how many you think you're going to have, the site you want in theory, and the week you want. And then we'll get you on the bill for this year, and we'll get you into a place where you have a spot.
Okay. Is there any discount available for multiple scouts that are coming from the same family?
We do not have a multi-sibling discount.
Okay. In terms of camperships, when will troops and families be notified if they got a campership or not?
I'm going to let Andy take that one.
Sure. So the campership communication comes from the office. So you'd be hearing something from Matt Gerarda at some point, probably mid-April. That way you have time to take that campership amount off of what you're going to be sending in for early bird. Really, when in doubt, communicate with the office, communicate with Danny and I about things like that. If you have not heard about a campership, ask before you send in that check, because 9 times out of 10, it ends up becoming overpaid. And then our bookkeeper will end up having to do a refund back to the troop. So let's save her the check cut and just email Matt, Danny, and I, and we'll get that answer for you. But usually mid-April.
Great, thank you. Now just some miscellaneous operations questions. How do we deal with food allergies?
It's a good question. So in advance, the medical form will be highlighted. And if you have a concern and you want a parent to talk to our professional chef, you could call a week before, talk with the chef. But if a scout has an allergy, it's noted by the dining hall, it's noted by the nurse, it's put on a master list for the dining hall and a master list for the nurse, and for some program areas where there might be food present. And so the need to know people have a list of who has allergies. If there's a question, an adult in the Scout can go to the window at any point and check in with a professional chef. We have cafe services for the last 27 years, 2 chefs professionally trained in safe serve food and all the trainings. So go to the window with an adult and confirm that it doesn't have whatever it is that you are allergic to.
Great. Okay, we have some individuals that are interested in the jobs that we posted. Can you talk a little bit about what this commitment looks like? When would they have to start their summer working? When would they end? And then in terms of week to week, when would these stop and end times be as well?
Okay, so the communications director is a full-time position. We would start during staff week. I think it's around the 24th, 23rd, and it starts on a Saturday and it rolls for 6 days of setting up camp. Then we have a day off, and then it starts a 7-week cycle of 6 days a week. And then we have about 3 to 4 days of breakdown, takes you up to about August 21st. And the nurse position, now that one, there's some flexibility. I'd like to bring Becky on. Will, in a minute, you're going to unmute Becky so she can say hello. Becky has agreed to work with us potentially for the first couple of weeks. We have nurse Matt Thaler, who was a former RN at camp, and his wife, nurse Nora Ann, who in theory have agreed to work with us. Rachel Labo, nurse at camp 3 years ago, has agreed to work with us. So we're working to hire some RNs for Camp Wanocksett, but if there's an RN out there and you can give us a portion of your summer, I would love to talk. We're looking for a full-time communications director and a full-time waterfront director. The nurse, let's talk.
Yep.
And just remember, waterfront director needs to go to camp school, be 21 plus, and the nurse needs to be an RN. We can work with that.
All right, thanks, Danny. And just to fill in a little bit more information about that, additionally to the staff week, before campers come, we have 7 weeks of program and then a breakdown week for staff, which runs about half a week. And then staff usually get about 26 hours off during the weekend. We leave right after closing colors and we come out back a couple hours before we open up our doors on Sunday as well. Next question.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Rachel.
Mhm.
Yeah, 8.5 weeks, and Rachel, that was a good review.
Next question. Will this presentation be available online for people that were not able to attend at this time?
Yes, we
Yep.
got to spend a little bit of time cleaning it up, but Andrew always edits it and gets it up online.
How do we set new unit contact information?
You can email us at info@campwanocksett.org, or you can wait until you see an email from myself in the next couple of weeks confirming your reservation for 2023, and there'll be a Google form for you to fill out to tell us a change in your reservation contact and confirm your week.
Can you talk a little bit about how tenting will work this year? When you're assigning campsites, are you expecting 2 scouts per tent, or are you going with a single scout per tent?
Just like last year, we're expecting 2 scouts per tent. If you want to bring personal tents, as long as we mark them with a laminated sheet that says no flame in tent, you can do that. But we're running on 2 scouts per tent.
Okay, if we have scouts or adults that are in need of campsite power, such as for a CPAP or similar machine, how do we make this known to the administration and make sure we do have that power within our campsite?
Well, there's a couple ways. The camp owns 1 battery pack that will get you through a night, and then we have several sites that we can get power to. But we are now at the point of critical mass of folks who need to plug into a tree for power. So last year we had 1 week with 7 or 8 folks who needed to plug in. Not every site has the ability to plug in. So I'd ask you to let us know, and I'd ask you to research other ways that you could bring power to camp if you don't want to have your site changed or you want to work with us. Because not every site has power, and we're beginning to get to the point where almost 2/3 of the folks in camp need power.
Great.
We'll work
And,
with you, but try to work with us.
and the most anticipated and highly asked question I left for last for operations. Will there be a barbecue this year? And if so, are families going to be invited?
We are going to have a barbecue, but at this point, we're not going to bring the families into camp on Wednesday night. It will be similar to how it ran last year, weeks 2 through 7. Weather permitting, we'll serve the food in the dining hall, and we will have the scouts eat outside. We'll bring in additional tables, but we will not bring the parents in. This is, we've talked about this quite a bit. The adult leadership talks about how it's great to see the parents, but it also is a way for homesickness to be created on midweek by bringing the parents in. It was great to have the parents come and to buy tickets and to spend a little money in the trading post, but also with Andrew Collins's incredible on website care packages. That's another way for the parents to send a midweek token of their missing their scout. But at this point, we're not looking to bring parents in to camp on Wednesday night. Maybe someday again. I do miss it, but not this summer.
Great. Danny, one more question regarding CPAPs and electricity before we hop over to Will for program. Would troops be able to bring their own generator in?
Yeah, I'll defer to the ranger, but I don't see a reason if the generator is far enough away. But are we really going to run a generator all night long? I would rather bring in longer extension cords than running a gas generator all night. There is a battery pack online. We own one. Talk with me before camp. We want you to be in your site that you're comfortable with. We want to get you your CPAP. I'm not convinced running a generator all night is a good idea, but we'll talk with you. We'll see what we can do.
All right, thank you. Okay, at this time, we have a few more program questions for Will. If you still have an operations question or you feel your question has not been answered adequately, let me know and we can circle back to Danny at the end as well. Will, can you talk about specifically the new merit badges that we will be offering at Camp Wanocksett this summer?
Yes, I don't have them off the top of my head. We're bringing back animal science. We are recombining instead of electricity. Oh, yeah, I'll get you a full list. It's not off the top of my head because admittedly, we did not make a ton of changes to badges. When we took away Nova, we brought some of those badges back into our main offerings, but there weren't a ton of changes. Give me the person's name after everyone leaves, Rachel, and I will get out a full list of the changes, not just what we're offering this year, but how it compares to last year to everybody.
Cool. Will, can you unmute Becky for a second? I'd love Becky to say hello. She's just a wealth of knowledge about camp. And Nurse Becky, are you out there?
I am out there.
Oh, Becky, there. Good to hear your voice. So Becky has agreed to be with us. Becky, tell us your favorite thing about Camp Wanocksett.
Y'all know my favorite thing at Camp Wanocksett, and that's to do the mile swim. Don't ask me why, but it keeps me in great shape. Other than that, I love the campfire shows. Yeah.
Becky's been at camp over 20 years off and on, and her sons came through the program and we're both on staff. Dr. Greenwood pops in and out of camp and has always been a wealth of knowledge for us on all things medical. And Becky is retired from her formal position as a nurse in Boston and was with us last year and will be with us again. We're going to negotiate about how much we can get Becky. But Becky, thank you for being here tonight and thank you for spending time with me on Saturday talking about the med forms and the changes.
Sure thing. And I just, I just wanted to say that these changes shouldn't be onerous. It's just get those forms to us early so that we can make that check-in through the health lodge very quick because we've done everything ahead of time. We already know the meds. We already have the med forms done. We already have the allergies sent to the kitchen staff. We've already done everything that we need to do. And that makes the check-in go so much faster. And it also stops us from tearing our hair out trying to process med forms. The other only little thing I wanted to say is that some things that are over the counter, such as if you're expecting your camper to be taking vitamins or melatonin, those things also go in a med form. And so please put them on the form. So that we know if they're taking something on a regular basis, even though it's over the counter, we make that med form out ahead of time. All those things just help. So thanks.
Becky, thank you. And we're just trying to make it smooth and as quick as possible. We're coming up now in an hour and 10 minutes. So let's go for any more program questions for Will, but we'll stick around until the end.
Okay, going back to that merit badge grid, Will, is it final at this time, or do you see likely changes?
I could foresee adding some things, but everything that is on there will be offered, absolutely. There
Will,
are some, yeah, Dan.
just, it goes in along with this, and we didn't mention it. Traditionally, we mention it every first meeting. Can you talk about how every scout will get their first choice?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we get those merit badge registrations on Sunday or before, we have one of our staff enter them into a big program to show, you know, there's 37 kids in this badge, or 19 in this one, or 6 in this one. And what we'll do is we'll load balance. So instead of 37, 19, and 6, you'll get 21, 19, and 22 in all 3 periods. That allows us to ensure that every scout gets their first choice merit badge. It might change periods. If they chose to go swimming first period, we might assign them to its second period, but they will get those first 3 choices. And we also will strive to keep buddy groups together. So if 2 or 3 scouts from the same unit sign up for a badge together, we will do our best to, we will keep them together as a group. For merit badge changes, back to the question, nothing will come off. We might add some bonus badges. I was talking about with a couple of the area directors, some ideas they had that they were really excited about, but I wanted to make sure that we could offer well before we promised to offer it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, sorry, Rachel, I just got a quick chat myself on my phone. There was a question that came up this fall in a really well-written email. Last summer, we sent a group up the mountain with several adults, but we did not have a female adult on the trip, but we had a female scout. And that was an oversight. And the email that I got this fall pointed it out to us. We went back, we pulled the records of the kids who went up the mountain. In fact, it was exactly right. So when we send out of camp groups, we need to make sure that we send 2 adults, and we need to have both genders, if we have both genders going on the trip. So that email was read, it was received. I know it was in the chat again tonight. We will take care of that. And I apologize for that oversight on the mountain. It was a safe trip and they made it back safely, but we need to make sure that we always have a female adult when there's a female going. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Will, circling back to that conversation about SBLs and their role changing a little bit in camp, is this something that only the SBL should attend, or should the assistant patrol leaders be there as well?
Just the SPL. If it's a large enough unit where there's an assistant senior patrol leader, I could see having them come, but just the SPL, no patrol leaders. Just the SPL typically. If it's a large unit and you want to send the assistant senior patrol leader, sure.
Great, thank you. Will, can you talk a little bit about what bringing personal bows or personal guns looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So any gun or bow that enters camp has to be checked in immediately at the office. It shouldn't go back to a campsite first stop. It shouldn't, you shouldn't bring it to the range. Bring it to the office. As soon as it comes onto camp property, we'll check it in and give it to our shooting sports director, who will log that we have it, and they will transport it to the range. We don't want adults or scouts to transport their guns or their bows to the range by themselves. We'll take it as soon as it comes to camp. We'll bring it to the appropriate range, and it will be there for the use of the owner whenever they visit the range. No one else will use it. It'll just be there for you. And then on Saturday morning, the shooting sports director will once again bring it back to the administration building where the same owner can pick it up.
Right, and we're not encouraging this. This happens probably 4 or 5 times a summer, but for those adult leaders who want to bring their shotgun to camp and they have the proper, credentials, it gets inspected by the range master and it gets locked up. But this is not something to promote.
Yep.
Okay. Well, can you talk a little bit about arrow kits and archery merit badge? Is this something that scouts will have to purchase for archery merit badge this year?
Yes. So there are a couple of badges where there is a kit that you have to purchase to complete a requirement. The way we typically differentiate something that we want a scout to purchase or not is if they get to bring it home. So for leather working, you get to bring home those moccasins or that belt or whatever it is. Arrow, same with the arrow kit. The only slight bend in that rule this year might be in regards to shotgun merit badge. We are still getting an estimate back for our federal ammo purchase. And it's going to go up. The rates for ammo have gone up this year. We might be adding a small fee to shotgun merit badge only to offset that. It won't cover the badge. We think scouts spend about $30 worth of ammo and pigeons throughout the course of the week. And we might try to offset that this year, but we still have to get the final numbers from our ammo purchase through council. But yes, if a scout brings something home, it's a kit they typically have to purchase. If it's just something they use, except for this possible exception for shotgun, that is covered within their camp fees.
Great. Well, can you clarify that a little bit in terms of the fee for shotgun? Is this something that the scout would have to pay or their family would have to pay, or would this be paid at a troop level? Like, what would that look like?
So yeah, what we don't want is scouts, going up to the shotgun range with their crumpled 1s and 2s. We'd handle it with Andy at the check-in at the troop level. So we would look at your merit badge rosters when you check in on Sunday and say, all right, you have 3 scouts for shotgun. That'll be an additional, X dollars based on the fee, and we'll handle it at the troop level. If the troop wants to then use this, cover the small fee from their coffers, great. If they want to go back to the families and say, if you decide to sign up for shotgun, there'll be a little bit more, they can do that, and then they can make that decision. But we don't want scouts to feel like they have to, like there's a economic disparity when they get to shotgun and they have to hand over money. We'll handle that at check-in on the troop level.
Thank you. All right, one more question for you, Will. We have some dying individuals in Troop 20 Littleton that want to know, is the mustache coming back this summer?
No, and you can blame Evan Barth.
right.
For those on the call who know who that is, I'll talk to you this summer.
Thank you, Will, for that insight on your mustache. Back to operations for a couple more questions. We have
maybe I do like it. It might come back.
No,
All
it's
right.
not. All right, keep
You're
going.
cut off, Will. Operations. All right. Is there an option to pay your deposit online, or does it have to be paid via check?
There isn't an option right now to pay online. All the camp stuff, just the size of the budget, we ask that units pay by check. We're flexible though, right? If something's on its way, if you just shoot us an email, if there's a deadline coming up, just let us know. If it shows up a day or two late, we're not going to gig you on that. That's the customer service is all about what Wanocksett is
And I
about.
think, Rachel, we're talking about new troops who want to sign up. Is that correct?
It was not clarified, but I
Okay.
believe so.
But if you're a new troop and you're out there, I know there's 6 of you who are looking at Camp Wanocksett. The number one thing is that reservation form. We're looking for you to say, I want to come to camp week 6 and I'm from, Hickory Hill, Maine. Once we get that reservation form, you can even fax it and email it to us. That kind of locks you in. If you tell us the check's in the mail, don't worry about the check, the reservation form, we'll get the check in the next couple of days. But if you're worried about losing the available sites, just get us the reservation form or an email to us, say, yes, you're committing, and we'll get you on the grid.
And I know there's a few, kind of to speak to that, and there's a few troops, a couple have already emailed us tonight about reservation forms. We've got you in the queue, we've got you placed already temporarily, we'll get you those forms. We're all full-time public educators, so during the day, we're a little slower to get back to you. Afternoons and evenings, we try to get back to you, but bear with us, we'll get through to your reservation form as soon as we can, but you're in the system.
Great. And one last question, assuming no more questions come in. Does Camp Wanocksett have a wish list this year where troops can purchase something and bring it to camp?
Yeah, we'll work on that. Every year we update the wish list, so we make sure that we're truly asking for things that are on our wish list. And we know that you're spending money at the troop level to come to camp, and so we want to be careful with wishing. But yes, we'll put together the list and we'll get it online ASAP. Before we wrap up, tell me, Rachel, when you're done, because I have just a camp director, a 30-second.
That was the last one.
All right, just one thing for the troops that are out there. We want all your scouts to come to camp. If you have a scout with any type of special challenge, whether it be dietary or a learning challenge or difference, you're looking at Rachel Shrivogel, an incredible special educator. My wife's a special educator. I'm a former special educator. We want every scout to come to camp. We can work with them. We can give them assistance to get them around camp. And so they can enjoy the Thorndike and Camp Wanocksett and all that it has to offer. Scouts who go to camp stay in the troop and they stay in the crew. And so please work to communicate with your scouts, to bring them to camp for 2023. It's a very special place. You heard Becky, you could hear it in her voice when she was telling me Saturday about the mile swim and the memories that she has at camp. It's a pretty cool place. And so let's work to get the kids to come to camp. If you have questions, shoot us an email. We want to make sure this is a smooth process. We thank you for the hour and 20 minutes that you spent with us tonight. And we'll get this recording up online. And if you know of a troop that's still looking for a camp, let them know that we're here and that we do have some space for 2023. And happy almost spring. It smelled like spring out here in Dedham this morning when I got up. But anything else? Oh, I see it. That's not a question. That's a thank you. All right, very good.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank
Have
you.
a good
Be
night.
safe, and we'll see you again in late May for another meeting. All right, we'll take down the overview so I can see all the folks who are in the crowd. I don't get to see everyone.
Give me 1 second.